what it sounds like. Stimulating sound bites while I seize firmly those hips, moving closer and closer to those lips. I hear you shout my name while the blood runs through my veins. This inherited musicality that helps soothe your pains. What a perfect composition that we've arranged. There is no competition when it comes to me and you making love, but sending me this angel with someone I gotta thank above. This unique sound like H's love, unselfish benevolent, patient love. How you arouse my senses, it's flawless. Finish my sentences with a finger to my lips. Inherited musicality. I can't explain how much I love this composition that we've arranged. There is no competition when it comes to me and you making love, sending me this angel with someone I gotta thank above. This unique sound like H's love, unselfish benevolent, patient love. How you arouse my senses, it's flawless. Finish my sentences with a finger to my lips.
Hey everyone, welcome to Timeless Ma Dukes. This is DJ Cherish the Love from the New York City chapter of the James DeWitt Yancey Foundation. And with me, of course, is...
Official Ma Dukes from the James DeWitt Yancey Foundation.
Yeah, and today this is a special episode because we're going to talk about what to do with your kids right now. We are recording this in the middle of COVID-19 pandemic. Hopefully everyone's safe and healthy and in a good space. And for those who are struggling and troubled right now and going through it, we send you love. Everyone who has kids at home, this episode's for you.
Yeah.
Because we want to discuss what to do with kids. And I think Maureen is so awesome to talk to about this because you've had lots of kids this life, right?
Yes, indeed.
Give us a number.
I'm on my own daycare. I had 75 children, but it's divided between two buildings.
75? Okay, I actually didn't know it was that high. I thought you were going to say 20.
Oh, yeah. Yes. I did infants. Yeah, I didn't start out with infants, but because my families grew and children always came to me in multiples. So when one family member found out, and then I took their family, and of course I was the cheapest daycare in Michigan. You know, I'm the mom that had experience with Dilla. I needed daycare for him for a couple hours while we had a restaurant to run, and that would expose him to other children for social, you know, and make a more social individual. But I didn't know that he would be, you know, a recluse, so to say, with his music, and this was his personality. And so it was many, many years before I realized he's just not into everything that everyone else is, and let him be.
Were you worried?
I was worried only because I wanted him to enjoy other children. I wanted him to play with all of the trucks and cars and all the things that we're told that excite boys, and boy toys and girl toys and different things like that. You know, we seclude and we take imagination out of anything because I just came up in the old generation. Okay, it's 3 generations before now, and so boys will be boys. So they say, and the Tonka trucks were for boys, and girls don't ask for that, and they like the little pink frilly things, and you know, but it's not always true, and sometimes we can gear children in the wrong direction because of what society has mandated. And I never learned how to ride a bike.
Oh, is that so?
Things like that. That's so.
Oh.
And of course, at my age now in the 70s, I'm not going to try. My mom forced me to get on it, and everyone in Detroit, at the back of the house, everyone learned in the back alleyway, because at that time, garbage was picked up everywhere, and it was clean always. Oh. So, you know, no glass and all the kind of things that you see in these times, you know, you wouldn't worry about that. So you learn back in the back, and every kid on the entire block knew that it was Marines Day to learn how to ride a bike. I think I was older than everyone else, but I would not ride that bike. I was so fearful, of course.
Oh my! So, well, that's another chapter of the book.
I didn't want to fall.
Okay,
Fear.
Making notes.
Big wheel. Make that the big wheel. Yes.
The indeed. Big wheel. Okay.
Yes.
For the audience, what I'm referring to is Timeless Ma Dukes, which is the name of Maureen Yancey's memoir, which we're pulling together now. And it's stories from one woman that are relatable to all women throughout time, right?
Yes.
So Dilla and your other children, how many other children do you have?
Well, I have Earl, who's is a year younger than Dilla. He was my foster son. So actually, a lot of people don't know, I acquired Earl at age 2. Having him at age 2 as just a guest to visit, because he was a kid alone, at home, next to the apartment we had over our restaurant. And he would play with Dilla, and Dilla did have boy toys that he would receive from other individuals, like Tonka trucks and what is it, Matchbox cars and the little car washes and things for him. And Earl was mesmerized with it. He loved that. And he would come and play, and he was such a great kid. And I had just had Martha. She was an infant, and she grew up around him, and she learned to sit up and do things like little kids do. She always would see Earl's face there. She thought it was her brother. And when I got ready to, when his mom said she was going to come get him, because the overnight visit ended up being a couple of weeks, then she came back to get him. So my kid had got attached to him. It was okay because, when I wasn't in the restaurant, I had sitters and everything. So I had 2 sitters per day. And so I was well aware of what daycare entailed and what I expected. I expected the best quality care, and I expected to be able to work without worry and stress. And this is something major for any mom that has a kid in care. You want not to worry about them in your absence. You want them to be happy. You want them not to be starved, whatever the process is. And so I decided that when I did daycare years later, that I would make sure that I would have hot home-cooked meals 3 times per day. And the amazing part is that I was registered and licensed, and the government reimbursed me for the meals that I would feed the children. So it was not a great loss. Of course, they didn't, give you enough to cover the meals that I was preparing. In my mind, I wanted the kids not just to have 3 hot meals. I wanted them to be full. I wanted them to eat nutritious.
Of course.
And to learn how to enjoy different vegetables and things that were good for the body.
Right.
And I followed all the guidelines. And believe it or not, I had never learned myself how to eat properly.
I mean, who did?
If it wasn't fried in the grease,
I thought that was
crunchy,
proper.
Exactly.
It was delicious.
And I wasn't eating it. And I even got counted out of many meals in my own home because I didn't want to eat what my mom, she said, well, if you don't eat what's on the plate, you won't eat today.
Oh,
and
boy.
It's meek and mild as my mom was. That's one strict rule, that you will eat what I serve you or you won't eat. And what it is it was times like this that actually were our everyday life. And so we didn't have an abundance of food. Everything had to be stretched to feed us. She was a single mom.
I'm not going to lie, stretching food right now is something I'm learning for the first time.
Exactly. So you have to, a lot of people think that it costs a lot more. Sometimes it does to eat better or to eat more nutritious, but the amounts don't have to be a lot.
Right. That's the balance.
And you balance it with supplements.
That's the balance.
And things like that. And to make sure, because sugary foods, they definitely come out. You're not going to stay in your body and give you any nutrients. So you're just like washing through and you're not giving the body anything that it really needs to function.
I don't know. The sugary foods stay on my body, my hips, my butt.
Well, yeah. Well, what? I'm proof in the pudding. Any place that you point outside of my ears is not sin.
I'm like, this was my hamburger right here, and it was delicious.
Exactly.
It was amazing.
Exactly. So, but you know what? I do it every once in a while. But feeding children right, wondering children's behavior for one thing, and being able to handle them at home and do things that you can enjoy. Well, if they're not eating right, it's really hard.
Right.
Sometimes it's not that the children are not being obedient. They cannot be as attentive and remember the things that you've told them if their bodies are not in sync.
Sure.
And so this ties into a lot of it. A lot of people say used to use the word bad kids. No, they're not giving their bodies what they need, and they're restless, and their minds are not functioning as well as they could because they don't have the nutrients. It's just a fact. I've seen it. I've watched it myself.
That was myself as well. Yeah, I think in my...
Yes.
Well, hold on. Let me backtrack, though, so that we don't forget your other son.
Okay. Yes, exactly.
Illa J, who created the
Yes.
opening music, Sounds Like Love,
Yes.
to this podcast.
Yes. Yes. Oh, I love that song.
It's so beautiful. And he's much younger, correct?
Yes. Well, he's it's 33. He's not a baby anymore. I had to guess on that.
I didn't mean much younger than us. I mean compared to Dilla and
No,
yeah,
yes. Well, yes, it was 13 years.
13-year difference. Okay,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
So between these 4 children that you raised so closely, plus your 75, you had 79 kids. Congratulations.
Yes, yes. Thank you.
So that means
Being a mom is fun.
you're my mom too. You're everyone's mom, Ma Dukes.
Yes.
So
Yes.
we need to pick your brain right now.
Okay.
My students, I know, are suffering. They don't need to tell me that they're suffering. And I need to find ways to understand and have compassion about what's it like to parent and a parent in crisis. And this is obviously unprecedented. We haven't had something like this, but we're always having challenges and stress in the home. And, with these kids at home and parents being stressed out at home too, how do you find harmony? What do you think? I mean, what can you do with kids in a time like this?
Well, something that we used to do with our kids, and we never stopped. We started when they were very young. I know every day you try to read. Reading, and I'm not talking about just academic reading,
Okay.
but even comics or storylines.
Oh.
The challenge they had at my home, my children would like to do reports or things like that. Even Martha, when she was in kindergarten, had started because of the boys being older.
Okay.
You make up the storyline, and if you don't know the words, someone will help you. But Martha was quite learned and was reading books at 2.
At 2.
And yes, by the time she was in 2.5, I was so excited. She was in 3 book clubs.
Wow.
And yes, and she asked me the name of one the other day, and I got so tickled that she was in the Sweet Pickles book club. That was one of them, and that's one I'll never forget because she enjoyed it, and we would wait on the mail to come to bring the new issues and the little workbooks that would come with it.
Oh, wow.
And they would all share. But then I learned that because the books are exciting, when a child is excited about what they're reading, others around them will be excited as well to hear them talk about it. So this is what we did.
That's
They
beautiful.
would read something that they wanted to read. Of course, for my boys, it could have been something about maybe Ninja Turtles or something when they first came out or whatever. And, I remember one would call himself Raphael and, and then, of course, I was Master Splinter. Okay. So, well, things like that. And we would pick characters and we talk about different things.
I see.
One movie that we all shared and watched together, whoever did their chores first would help somebody else do something in the house. It could be anything. Help someone maybe clean up something or finish something. We didn't have a merit system in that word, but this is what I kind of led it to. So we all were in the same house together. So whatever you would do, you helped her all the day, or you did this for James, or Martha was like she's still like that. She's the one that loves to clean and do things like that. She's just like, and they would bribe her, of course, and and they really did take advantage. I never caught on when I wasn't aware, but they did it through life. Well, Martha, if you do this, we could do that. Whatever. And
that's so sweet.
So they took advantage, but she knew it.
She knew it. She's like, all right.
Yes, she told me I knew it. She said, but she just enjoyed doing things for her brothers. But
that's so sweet.
You learn a story or pick a storyline. You can make up one, and then you would tell it to your family. You sit down and we'd listen, and everybody get the same respect, and you'd listen. When we didn't do the storylines, we'd pick one day and say, okay, we're going to do, either you'll sing a song or whatever, or make up a skit or sing a song or something,
That is so great.
or play charades like we used to do back in the day without the board and everything. Play charades.
But
And we'd have so much fun
oh my gosh.
doing that. But then Earl was not a singer, didn't have the vocal tone. It didn't bother him. He was like, he said, well, I can't sing. I said, well, if you don't want to sing, which he really could, he was just probably a little afraid.
Mhm.
But he said, well, but I got a joke I could tell. And so we were like, oh no. Everybody was saying, because Earl he could not tell a good joke. But let me tell you, we would be on the floor rolling because it would be so funny, the effort and everything that he put in it. And we'd be sitting there braced for the punchline. And when we realized that there was no punchline, or either he thought he had given it to us, it was even more funny. We would be on the floor laughing. And so in the end, he would be laughing because he got out of us what he wanted. It was total laughter.
Oh, that
and
is
so
funny.
we coined that Earl's Cracker Barrels, because we would be on the floor rolling. That's what we call it.
You know what? That whole picture that you painted,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Do families do that now with everyone's holding devices? And
No, I think not, because we're in the technical age.
so here's the question:
Yes.
how do you get a kid to be excited to read when they have a phone 6 inches from them?
They have to be challenged.
Oh,
They have to power off. If we could just power off, but we could sacrifice 15 minutes. I know it's big for a teenager too.
It's big for me.
Because they're like nonstop. Yes. But if we could power off for 15 minutes, or agree upon a time when things will be settled and everybody's not like waiting on a phone call to come in for something urgent.
Right.
Or that parent can sit still because they're not used to sitting still with their children. They've been busy, they've been working, preparing meals, and, all sorts of things that they have to address every day for their children. But if you could sacrifice that 15 minutes just to sit down with your kids.
So
Even
challenges.
just to say, like we used to do, the families don't sit down at the table anymore for dinner at the same time. It's so unusual when you sit in the movies all the time, supper will be served, and you'll sit them at the table, and you'll see them talking about, well, how was your day? This is in the movies. We've lost that. And it was something that happened every day with every family. Even when I know when I was a kid and all growing up, people still came to the table for dinner. But it became, I guess, as we began to be more fast food aged, and we got busy, and we had so much to do on our plate, and we didn't carve out on that plate time for family.
Yeah.
Which would include everybody. Of course, we can't carve out 15, 20 minutes for each child. If you got 5 or 6 kids and you're working and you're tired and you have to do a meal, you don't have that time. But to carve out 15 minutes just for family, even if it's just sit down for a moment, and maybe only one person has something that they'd like to share with their family. Maybe if the kids don't feel like they want to share anything because they feel like, either teenagers, of course, would think that, well, I'm too old, I'm not going to share any of my secrets because I'm writing in my journal, and I don't want anybody to know what I'm writing in my journal, and but of course you can loan 15 minutes of your precious time to listen to the children and the family that are looking up to you.
I love that.
Because you're that teen. And a lot of teens don't realize that their younger siblings want so much to be part of their lives and to be like them when they grow up, because they adore them.
That is so beautiful.
It's just a fact.
This makes me feel some kind of way, because I never had that, even without pandemic. Just even in regular family life, growing up, my parents were just very busy, and we had to find our ways to just pass the time.
Yes.
And I look back and I think, I'm not going to be remorseful and say, I wish it was different. This is how it was. And we still had each other, but we didn't connect.
Okay.
And what you're saying is, if I'm hearing this correctly, because this is really kind of new to me, what is interesting is, like, if I had a family myself, I guess I would have repeated the same thing and maybe not had these connection times. So carving out 15 minutes to just say, what's up?
Yes. And to be looking at each other instead of the phone.
Yeah.
That's the purpose of powering off. if you don't want to power off, put it in airplane mode.
Let's compromise.
And
Yeah.
I've been guilty of not wanting to power completely off,
Right.
and say I'll put it in airplane mode. That way, anything coming in is going to already be in there waiting on me. As soon as I
Right.
power back, everything will be right in the box for me.
Relatable.
But it's a sacrifice. But your family is so worth that sacrifice. And moms, I know you can say, look, old lady, it's not like that. You have no idea. But I do, because I've raised so many children of different ages. I had children from newborn. Well, at the end, after the first couple of years, it was, 2.5 through preteen. But as I began to get more and more children in, I had 2 different buildings and use my home, then I actually end up having infants. I even had a newborn infant that was ill and had an oxygen machine. And of course, I had to watch that one because my daughter was like, she was in charge of the infants. She's like, no, Mom, I'm not taking on the baby. She said, I love the baby and I love that you're helping this grandmother that has these kids, but I just don't feel comfortable that I could give them the care that I give everybody else. So I did it, because it was a grandmother that had been blessed with, I'll say blessed, yes, with her 5 grandchildren, because the mom was not able to care for them through other circumstances, and the state turned those children over to the grandmother. And she only had a regular job, not making a lot of money. So I'm like, how is she going to pay? And it took months. It was months before the state got their paperwork together so that she could get daycare aid, and everything. And so I'm like, I was the kind of person that, well, if I had 1 child already that she had and under my care. And I was like, well, and you're going to take months for your social worker to get things together. And then they got to investigate and see this, that, or the other, get you in line for this. And, so many things. It takes months to really get in the system where you can get things done. And a lot of times you can end up losing where you're staying trying to make things.
Really?
Just to keep people from going into the system. But I was that mom that knew this. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this for you. I'm gonna take the kids and I'm gonna pray that they hurry up and get things ready, for you. And I would do. My daughter said, no, Ma. She said, maybe I should do your book. She said, because you're just a bleeding heart. And of course, my staff, I have full-time teachers. So I'm like, okay, I know I got to make the salaries, I have to pay my staff each week regardless. Only one that's not getting paid right away is me, and so I won't get it. I maybe didn't get a pay, but that's okay because my staff was getting paid. Anything that I needed, Dilla took care of for me. As when he got older, I never had to worry about making payroll. He always would step in and say, don't worry about it. I said, James, my state check is not here yet, and I have staff to pay. He said, don't worry about it. Just get what you need, because I always handle stuff, and so he knew, and I take care of that, So I was in a worry. I could give my attention to the children, prepare the meals, and I even had parents come in and join us in our circle time in the evening, and we end up dancing and line dancing and everything at the end of the day. After, of course, everybody had done their homework. So it was like a thing that if you did your homework, if you were latchkey and your homework was done, and that's a must, unless parents said that they didn't want you to do the homework with them, because my teachers knew that they had to help with the homework. And we loved it. We just loved it.
You just make me realize that every child that you were working with has a backstory whoever their guardians were, what the circumstances were, what their personal styles were, these kids. And
exactly.
I'm so appreciative of hearing what you just said about how Dilla would then help you. And
oh, sure. He was so proud to be able to lend that because he was very compassionate. And he loved, even though he wanted us out of there at 6 p.m. so he can get to the studio, he still wanted the kids to be happy because he knew what it could be like and the fun that you can really have and share when you work together to do things. And we spend a lot of times, and like I said, we have the Friday nights were carved out because Mr. Yancey's first family would come, and those children would come, and they were older, but they'd come and we join in, and we do the little hand games and sit around and we tell the stories and the jokes and sing songs, and everybody, and they couldn't hold a note, but they still participate. But they, because they like music, and it was just a thing that you knew which you're going to get, and maybe this week you're going to get something special. It was just a beautiful time together, and what turned out to be a beautiful thing that started from something very hard and unresponsive, for those kids, when I came on as a new wife. So it was like it was a transition, definitely a transition. But those things can be done beautifully. And in the end, their mom and I were like best friends, from afar. And she knew how hard my life was. So once she would have 2 or 3 week vacation each year, and she'd take 1 week out of that vacation and take my kids
I see.
to her home for a whole week, just because all summer they'd be with me, and weekends during the school year. But you have to show love and compassion, and you can't judge everything and everybody. And we expect a lot from our kids. And we kind of want to mold them into the dream that we've had before their birth. And sometimes that's not really where their heart or their mind of passion is. So we have to learn to grow with them and just kind of lead by appreciation of what they show us.
That's very honest of you. I really appreciate that, because
It's so true.
I really appreciate that, because I live with the burden of what my parents envisioned for me. And I'm in my mid-40s and I still feel the burden of that. And
Yes.
if there's something that I shouldn't say it like this, but if I wish something was different, it would be that I'd have more support like that for my parents.
Of course. Because you need it.
I do need it. Yeah.
You know what? This is where that transition comes in, where parents don't realize that because the child is growing and they have strong bones and they're in good health, that mentally and socially there's a void if they don't become whole. The barrier between home and social is so thick sometimes they can't become whole. And I'm just speaking from not expertise as a psychologist. Of course, I've done family studies and everything when I went to U of M for all of the stuff, for child care. But the thing is that I actually lived it. But I never shared, of course, in class that even though we were learning to develop the whole child, I had never developed as a whole child. So actually, when I finished at U of M, I was really growing up through the transition and learning. I knew that all the things that we talked about that were not in my life that helped to give you the mental strength and stability, they were absent. So of course, my self-esteem wasn't where it should be, because I had never developed as a whole child.
Wow, that is profound. I'm thinking
it was like something. I was like so shocked at myself, and I just can't even remember how many hours I sat there, doing my papers and wondering, wow, you never grew up, because and then other things that happen in life, tragedies and disappointments, and when you feel lost and you don't know where to go and you need someone to talk to, all those things, they fall into line like a stack of cards, and you're flipping cards. And you know how when you slicing a deck of cards and you mixing them up, and that's the transition. One side is the developmental growth, and the other side is all things that didn't happen in its proper time.
Oh, that's deep. That's really deep. That hits me someplace really deep, because I wonder why I'm so attracted to working with kids and their development. And
because you see, because
I know, yeah. And there are things, things incomplete in me that I wish for them to experience completeness.
Exactly, because they'll be full, well-rounded individuals early, which will make their progress in life so much richer.
Oh, thank you for helping me see that. It's so true. That's really, I'm such an advocate now. I mean, I can't speak for having kids of my own. And
no, but you are a parent figure in their lives when you teach.
Very interesting.
A parent is a teacher. It's the first teacher.
Yeah.
This is why it's so important that the foundation that they build on comes from home first, and they will have that allegiance to home. They will know where to go if they feel the support is there, and you can be the go-to parent. I was always the go-to parent I always told my children, it doesn't matter. I did spank, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It was allowed that time, but it's not allowed these days. You know, it's a little different.
Mm-hmm.
But I was the one that I was the enforcer or whatever. Those hands got spanked,
Mm-hmm.
you know, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is that I wanted so much for them. What I did always tell them, there's nothing that you can do in life that we can't discuss. If you have a problem, come to me.
Mm.
I will listen and we will work it out together. There is nothing on this earth that you can't bring to me.
God, that's beautiful.
And we don't work it out. And that meant that, and I stuck to it. And even though I might have had my feelings hurt a couple of times, it was bothering me. I had to stick to my guns because my husband and I decided long before we had any children that we wanted them to each be who they were meant to be, who they felt they were individually. We didn't want to make them into this person that we could carve out and say, okay, your name is Martha, you're going to be this, that, or the other. Now, I must admit that there is one thing that I said about a person finding their own path, because my children were all very scholastic on their own and well-rounded. Martha has several degrees under her belt. The first degree, she was supposed to finish her Juris Doctor first. And even now, I always remind her every once in a while, because she always going to school for something, and she's, straight A's since forever. So I'm like, okay. I said, well, you still only got less than a year to get your Juris Doctor. And she said, I know, Ma. I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And I must admit that I did say it in 2019. So I'm not trying to say that I'm perfect, because I'm not, because something inside me just would feel like I got that, and it's a feather in my cap that my daughter finished the jury. Yeah, I'm just
fair enough.
Honest. Even though I'm so proud of all of the things that she's accomplished, she is a genius in her own right, scholastically. And, so there's some good genes in there.
Good genes, there's amazing genes.
But my Dukes carried herself through crooked roads and wrong paths growing up, which didn't have to be. If I I did have one person that I could lean on, but I couldn't, when it's somebody else's mom, they have their own life and family. You can't they're not always there when you really need them sometimes. But I knew that, that was my go-to place. And that's my aunt who's still alive, and people think she's my sister.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And I call her my pill. Her name is Phyllis, but I always call her Pill. And because she's always been that antidote for me when I needed something. And but she is so wonderful. And she's had tragedy in her life. And, with her, 2 children, she lost her daughter under some horrible circumstances. And, but she was a loving mom. Yes, a loving mom. And still is for her son who's still alive.
The value of connection, family connection.
Yes. 15 minutes.
15 minutes. So
we should all be ready, because if you've been to the store since the pandemic, you waited in line more than 15 minutes to get in.
Yep.
So it's a piece of cake. I know I've stood 45 minutes to get in Sam's.
Listen, I think I told you this the other day, my door-to-door experience for Trader Joe's 2 weeks ago was 3 hours.
Oh my God.
And I said, I'm not going to like this if this keeps happening.
Exactly. We'll be more appreciative for 15 minutes. And not only that, the beauty of it is that you're sitting with your children. You brought these wonderful people into the world. All the many me's, okay? And I'm not just talking about moms or dads that are raising their children too. To sit down in front of your children and for them to make eye contact with you, not while you're reading a paper or a brief or writing notes, but just for them, eye contact. And guess what? With a smile, that's the icing on the cake, because they know that you care and that you appreciate being with them those few minutes. And even though the first time they might be like a little grungy, like, God, I'll be glad when this is over. Because, the mindset of children, and they do say it. And even adults.
Yeah.
But that 15 minutes is a special time. If you do nothing but look at each other for 15 minutes, you'll remember what they look like more than just if somebody asks you, how they say, well, what was your daughter wearing when she left home? And you haven't a clue because you haven't paid attention.
Ooh.
All you know is that the door closed.
Wow.
And she's gone. And we are guilty of that because we let them choose their dress. And they're dressed. That's why a lot of times moms don't know their daughters are wearing makeup because they haven't seen them when they left out of the store. They know that there's time to go. They're left out and their book bag is gone. And then you hopefully that they'll go straight to school and inside the building. Those kind of things, because moms face all of these different kind of things. And so, you just have to pray that all is well, but give them those 15 minutes, look them in the eye so that you can see the beauty of what you have in front of you. And they will know that they're appreciated enough for you to take 15 minutes out, And that 15 minutes will lead to more.
I'm going to throw you a bonus challenge question.
Okay.
What if you're a parent that is so stressed out and can't find that? Or you're so sick of your kids right now? This is what one of my friends said.
Well, you know what? I have an antidote for that. And it'll take about 30 seconds. Embrace that child. The first chance you get. You don't have to say anything. Stretch your arms out and hug that child. Hugs are priceless.
Yeah.
Hugs are priceless. And we both know this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that might be a hug that they'll remember at that moment because of something they've gone through in their life that you haven't talked about. That hug may be the healing balm that they need on that day. But you will know that you took time out to hug your child. Probably haven't done it in a while, some of us. My daughter didn't even know how to respond to a hug well because she's a nerdy bird, but she's, into her book. So we hug more now. And she's in her 40s, but, and I was like so thrilled because it's just been the past couple of years that she's realized, I think after the Hurricane Maria, and she couldn't reach me here in Puerto Rico because the threat of me not being around made her realize, suppose she hadn't made it through those 3 hurricanes. And so, we embraced and she was not the huggy feely kind of person. She's just like straight up business mode, scholastic mode.
I understand that. I wasn't like that until I got diagnosed with breast cancer.
Exactly. It changes the mindset. It makes you appreciate special moments. And any moment can be a special moment. It doesn't mean that you're being awarded for something. You award yourself for the goodness that you brought to the earth and you embrace it. You can create your own special moments just when you see them throw those arms out. You never know if that child is just waiting for that moment. They become adults and they remember that they didn't have that.
Exactly. That's me. That is 100% me. And thank you for saying that because I feel like I'm very seen right now because my parents, and I love them and have nothing to forgive about them being so busy, and culturally it's just different. I remember straight up, I'd go to my friends' houses in high school and my white friends had parents who hugged them and talked to them. And I was like, wow, this is what white people do. It's so nice. And I realized later on in life, it's not guaranteed a white thing. It's just what I was exposed to on TV.
It's a random thing.
It's like, oh, some Filipino parents do this too. Wow, that's weird.
Exactly.
And I think what you're saying is golden because in this stressful pandemic time, make those special moments.
Exactly. And for young children, if we could teach our children that this is an endearing thing to give a hug, because how many grandparents are missing the hugs of their grandchildren and they don't get to see them often, and that's something that a grandparent just, oh my God, you long for a hug
really?
From your grandchildren. Yes, you do. I have 3 granddaughters, so I know.
I can understand that from my end because I long to connect with my grandparents and they're long gone.
Yes. And so it's too late to you hold to the memory and to the love that you shared in those special moments that you can remember. because I know for my grandmother, I just realized that for a few years ago that she was only 46 when she passed away.
Oh, so young.
And yeah, she had heart failure. But I remember all of the wonderful things that she did, all the time that I spent with her, and more than any other grandchild, I think I've lived with her for a while. Nobody's confessed to that, but it seems like I had many moments that I was the only one coming home from school. So I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I had to be staying there for a while, because it wasn't during the summer when I was coming from school, walking home. And, I told you about Old Lady Thorpe. And
Yeah,
so,
you did.
Yeah, I was coming home. So, yeah, so definitely, I was there for a while. I think I need to ask my
Old Lady Thorpe.
Aunt Phyllis about that, because that's something that's a void and I'm missing.
And, for anyone who's listening that's wondering who Old Lady Thorpe is, that's a chapter in these podcasts and in Maureen's book. So look for that. Old Lady Thorpe and the Switch.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and the Switch. Old Lady Thorpe and the Switch. But, that ties into It Takes a Village.
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. This is really beyond what I thought we were going to talk about. I think that to understand what we can do in this time with our kids, with the youth, and it could be a 30-second hug, 30-second thing, or 15-minute family time, just like look at each other, check in with each other.
Exactly.
We're getting all kinds of guidance from the governor and the president. We're not getting, sorry, I had to just include that because, guidance, quote, guidance. But no one's giving this guidance. And I think that is really important.
But you know what? There was no compassionate love there either.
Right.
So he doesn't know how to give what he didn't get.
Right.
You know how they say you can't teach what you don't know.
Right.
And you can't lead where you don't go. Because you haven't been there before. So how are you going to lead someone else?
Oh, I already hear the people snapping while they're listening to this. I hear the snaps. Yes, I think that you just nailed it. Because we try to be compassionate. No, we don't try. We are compassionate.
Yes.
But we also try to see very difficult situations and difficult people with compassion for our own sake.
Yes, for sanity's
just
sake.
To understand and to.
Oh, that's another chapter.
Sanity. I love you for everything that you said. It's just so meaningful and so important, so real. And I'm happy to share this.
And guess what?
What?
It doesn't cost anything.
Exactly.
It's free.
Exactly.
You don't have to go out and buy anything.
Exactly. It's not
Those songs and jokes are in the heads of our children already. They share them with their friends.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's okay for a mom or dad to tell a joke and expect a laugh from that kid, even though the kids probably will think it's cheesy. It'll be the effort that counts.
Officially, the jokes that my father told us that we hated, were cringing, so cheesy.
Okay.
I love them now.
I know. Because he told them.
And I think they're so corny and so awesome now.
I know.
But back then, I was like, stop it. But I just think it's amazing. I just think it's just so beautiful to have.
You know what? Because he took that special time to do something special.
Yeah.
It meant a lot to him because he wanted to tickle the heck out of
Yeah,
me
he did.
with those jokes. It's just a thought.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
Now I'm laughing more than I ever did. And you know what? In fact, next time I see him and next time I talk to him, I'm going to tell him those jokes were funny. And I think he's going to appreciate that.
Look at you like, what?
He's like, that's a very late reaction. That's like 30 years late. What's happening?
Exactly. Because it's so much behind it besides the words.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You have to factor in the time and the smiles that come along with it.
Yeah.
And the fact that they wanted you to laugh. And that's a blessing of love.
Oh, precisely.
Yeah.
Precisely.
Yeah.
What are the words that summarize today's episode? I guess connection. What comes to
Take time for connection.
Taking time for connection.
Yes.
All right. Well, you know what time it is and what we do in these episodes.
Yes.
It's time for our meditation on the themes and the topics that popped up. So I'm going to switch hats for a minute, take my DJ hat and headphones off, and put on my Reverend hat.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Going from DJ Cherish the Love to Rev Love, my alter ego. And here are my thoughts on taking time for the connection.
For that connection, yes. Yes.
Out there is a child who needs an education. Out there is a child in need of elucidation. Out there is a child who needs a great deal of protection, about to fall victim from craving the wrong attention. Because what that child has is a desperate need for connection. And did you know that child is right in front of you? So what you gonna do? And did you know that child is right in front of you? So what you gonna do? Did you know that child is right in front of you? So what you gonna do? Did you know that child is right in front of you? So what you gonna do? It's a simple correction to take time for that connection. A hug, a joke, a smile, a poke. All the simple things that don't cost a thing. We all know they are sweeter than confection. That child is right in front of you, so what you gonna do? That child is right in front of you, so what you gonna do? Did you know that child is right in front of you, so what you gonna do? But the problem is, and yeah, there's a problem. Because right here in the mirror is a child craving affection. And right here in the mirror is that child who needs a trusted companion. And this child in the mirror right here is begging for compassion. So thirsty for it that at times this child can hardly function. And upon further inspection and inwards reflection, this child suffers from chasing perfection, conviction in the wrong direction, and that child in the mirror is me, and that child in the mirror is you. Incomplete children, we aged into adulthood. So what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? How do we fix ourselves so that we can connect better with our elders and our children and make time for that connection? We must figure this out. We must make it our mission. We must figure this out. We must make it our mission. It's a simple correction to make that connection. Take time for the connection. It's a simple correction to make that connection and take time for this connection. A hug, a joke, a smile, a poke. All the simple things that don't cost a thing. They're sweeter than confection. Yeah, you know what I mean. The future depends on this, but so does right now. Because healing can only happen if we allow. Healing can only happen if we allow. Always so healing to talk with you, Maureen. It really is.
Oh my God, it heals me too.
I'm so glad.
So don't forget that I'm in transition myself.
And thank goodness we have each other. That's really, really a blessing.
Yes, indeed. We were meant to be in each other's lives. Yes, indeed.
Thank you so much for being with us today. This is DJ Cherish the Love from the New York City chapter of the James DeWitt Yancey Foundation. And this is
Official Ma Dukes from the James DeWitt Yancey Foundation. One love to you. One love across the universe. I salute you, parents.
This episode of Timeless Ma Dukes was produced and recorded by Maureen Yancey and DJ Cherish the Love of the New York City chapter of the James DeWitt Yancey Foundation. Our beautiful opening intro song is called Sounds Like Love, by Illa J and Debbie Nova, Yancey Boys. The soundtrack for this adventure is by Jay Dilla and Cherish the Love. Big shout out and special thank yous. Illa J, Tony Blackman, Maureen Yancey, James DeWitt Yancey Foundation, and Bonfire Radio. Find out more and follow us as we build Timeless Ma Dukes on social media at DJ Cherish the Love, love spelled L-U-V, at Official Ma Dukes, and at James DeWitt Yancey Foundation. Peace.